I was looking at some of those, man. Then of course, like you ever had Evil Genius, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're actually fairly widely distributed. I noticed myself there. Like, I see them in quite a few places. So this guava IPA is all right. It was nothing special.
Adulting guava IPA. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it was pretty smooth. I mean, like it wasn't a whole lot going on. I mean, they say this is I mean, it's guava infused IPA. It's really simple. It's not like super complex, but a decent beer. I was just when I was down there, man. They got like this little teeny spot. It's a little grocery store. You can get like breakfast sandwiches in for real cheap, but you can also like grab beer, and they keep a pretty good selection there. They're what they have there is different than most of the other stores out here, and it's weird too because Maryland's a place where you can't just go buy beer anywhere. Like there's very few places. Like surprisingly, that place sells it. I mean, it's a grocery store, but most places, unless it's a liquor store, you can't just go buy beer at like a gas station or, you know, it's
Gotcha. Right, right, right.
limited how much you can. Yeah, it's a weird, man. Their laws are strange, and then you find certain places where you'd be like, okay, you gotta sell beer here. I thought it wasn't that easy to do, but
Right. Yeah, it's tricky, man. Nashville used to be like that.
But yeah, I remember Nashville. Well, I think it was no liquor and beer in the same place, though, right? Or like a Frugal had to put a wall between them, right, and run like
Yeah, something like that. I can't even remember, but it was like, yeah, you couldn't get liquor or like wine or whatever at the grocery store. You had to go to get wine and liquor at like
at a liquor
at a
store.
liquor store,
Yeah,
right? But you could buy beer, and all the liquor stores were
beer
closed on
anywhere in Tennessee.
Sunday.
I felt like, oh, you buy
You
beer
know,
in Tennessee all night, all day, anywhere.
right?
Same.
That was another thing. Like all the liquor stores were closed on Sunday. You couldn't buy beer in the grocery store until like noon on Sunday. It was like these weird, antiquated laws, man. Once Nashville started blowing up, they were like, "We got to change this." You know,
Yeah.
yeah. Like actually, man, it's crazy. Where I graduated from, out in Mount Juliet, which is east of Nashville, maybe like 15, 20 miles.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wilson County, once upon a time, was a dry county. Like they didn't even have liquor stores out there. Like growing up, I never saw a liquor store in Wilson County. It's
Well,
crazy.
you know what's even funnier is that there's still a lot of places like that. Actually, I want to say it's not Wildwood. It's one of these like southern New Jersey towns, like that's really close to like Atlantic City.
Atlantic
Completely
City.
dry
That's
town.
awesome. Hmm.
Yeah, just dry town. I think it might be Ocean City, New Jersey. Man, just dry town. It's like what the heck? It's a big vacation spot. Like Wildwood's real close to there. It's big boardwalk. People go there, but you can't buy beer right there. You got to cross this bridge to go buy beer on the other side of the water.
Man, it's silly.
Drive down the coast, especially at beach town. I mean, they literally have waterfront, right? Like,
Yeah.
eh,
It's tourism, man. You're missing out on money. I mean, I get it, trying to preserve the innocence of the town, I guess, but I'm like, you're missing a lot of money that
well,
could
and
probably
it's
go to
really,
the development of your town. I mean,
I'll be
hey,
honest, man, it's really counterproductive because a lot
yeah,
of people are gonna bring drinks there anyway, right? Because you just got to cross the bridge to get beer. It's literally cross over, bring the beer back to your hotel. You can drink, right?
yeah,
It's
right.
like it's kind of counterproductive, and then you got people, and then you're gonna arrest folks. Where you're gonna make money off of this because like you're arresting people for doing what's natural. I don't just I don't get it.
You're at a beach, you're on vacation, you're probably gonna grab a drink.
Of all places, right? Any kind of vacation spot.
Yeah,
Bless you.
for
If
sure.
you're in a ski town, like come on, what are you outlawing beer in a ski town? Like word tripping in the middle of winter, nigga. Like
You're
it's
working backwards. You're
bro,
clearly working
definitely
backwards.
hustling backwards. Definitely
Yeah,
hustling backwards.
right. It
Not the
makes
wise
no sense.
method. I mean, for
Yeah.
all the things you think you're solving, you can take some of that money and do social good with it. It's, oh no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of evil genius, I feel like I had something of theirs recently, but I can't put my finger on it. I feel like Magnanimous or somebody around here did a collab with them that was pretty solid, but
Okay.
I can't think of what it was, man. That's I don't know if that's one thing we talked about in the last segment, man, was collabs, man. It's really cool when these
Yeah.
breweries get together, man. And Magnanimous knows some of the people that my brother knew in Charlotte, like Resident Culture, and
Yeah.
there was another one, Heist. who does, man, both of those do really good work. But the owner at Magnanimous, or one of the head brewers, he may not be the owner, but he was talking about like the relationship and the respect that he had for like some of the craft spots in Charlotte, and it's kind of cool when they do collabs like that.
Yeah. I don't see him too often up here. I think there was definitely a couple. I can't recall who though, man. But nah, it's nice when they can cross over and stuff. Like I said, the only thing I've seen is Flying Dog collab on with like the weirdest people, man. They collab with Old Bay seasoning to do Old Bay beer. But that was like a Maryland Love kind of thing.
All right, yeah.
I think there's sriracha beer, which is really weird because I don't know what you would eat that with. It maybe like I don't know, wings. I don't know. It's just like, would you drink that with? It's kind of weird, but
Yeah, that's different. I've had like some spicy, crabs or whatever, but yeah, that's man, with Obey seasoning, that sounds crazy.
yeah. It was definitely not the high point of the summer. But once again, I think once people realized you could cook with it, it was probably a better thing to do with it. Use that for your crab. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was a quiet taste. I mean, it was rough.
Yeah. Here's one. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen here.
Yeah,
but it was this one here, Evil Fusion. So this was with Woven Water.
They crossed over with Evil Genius.
Evil. Yeah, Evil. I'm sorry, it's not Evil. It's not Evil Genius. It's Evil Twin Brewing, which is in NYC. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think I've heard of them too.
Evil Twin. Evil Twin and Woven Water did this sour, kind of a pastry sour called Evil Fusion, which was delicious, man. I had it. It was great, but yeah, kind of off topic, man. I heard Evil and I.
Oh no,
it's a totally different brewery, but Evil Twin. This is Evil Twin and Woven Water that did one. So anyway,
nah, it happens, man. Like I said, we're not really experts on this thing. So
that's it.
Yeah,
I'm just a connoisseur, but maybe not an expert.
Well, speaking of too, man, like so, this is one I crush a lot, which is I think I mentioned last time. I don't know if we went over this, but pretty decent beer, man, and I had it one time. It's like a sour. It's trying to find. Let me figure out I forget what's all mixed in that, but it was pretty. It's tart. It's got some weird like I don't know if that's a passion fruit they got going in there or what. I was trying to find. I just had it up on Untappd before.
Yeah, it looks like Calvert Brewing Company. This looks like a sour, traditional Goza style. Based on what Untappd says about it.
Yeah, it says tart cherries and sweet peach. So, what's cool about Calvert is they're actually based out of Upper Marlboro, so that's really close to here, Maryland. That's right down the street. Yeah, it's just south of where like Bowie area, like close to where my parents stay at. So,
nice.
Yeah, I mean, they have quite a bit of stuff in circulation out here. I'm not sure how far they reach outside of this area, but that was actually a pretty good beer, man. It was different. It's not super strong. It's only 5%, but it's more about flavor. I was pretty pleased with it. I mean, I'm
I immediately liked the can art. This is one I would probably pick up just based on it being a sour and the art itself.
Whatever that's worth. Changed the art too. It's had a couple of variations. This is a newer version of it. I think they had something else with like a fist and bunch of weird stuff, but this is much more simplified, and I think it's a little cleaner. So
nice. Yeah, I'm literally looking these guys up on Instagram. I'm about to follow them now.
Yeah, I've had some decent ones from Calvert. Kind of like a middle of the road. They don't do as many adventurous things as some of these other places out here that I've found. I mean, unless I just haven't had some of their wilder beers, but
sure,
decent though.
I feel like sometimes just doing sours alone is kind of like adventurous in and of itself because, you're talking about beer. I feel like sours just get kind of like, I don't know, side-eyed or folks talk shit about it. And it's just like, man, it's really just a tasty beer, man, with, acid, the acidity is a lot higher, man. It's just a different type of situation, man. But me personally, man,
I don't love a lot of shit. And like, if they're done right, like you said, I mean, I often find a lot of sours aren't super strong either. They tend to be like 5 and 6%. I haven't had super strong sours. So, maybe that's for a reason. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, typically you're not going to find like those high, ABVs when it comes to sours, unless you're dealing with like the Imperials, or like a barrel aged. I mess with some barrel aged sours every now and then, like rum barrel
Oh,
aged.
crazy.
Oh man, they're rich, man. They're delicious. So I mean, they're definitely, with it being Imperial. Kind of just found this out recently, so late past year. But the Imperial is kind of like a double. Like they're basically the alcohol content goes up or whatever, but it makes them a little more richer, obviously boozier, and then it kind of balances the acidity. I think when the more alcohol that's in there, like
that makes some sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I always say that too, man. Like certain beers, like if like IPAs, man, because I'm an IPA guy, but if it's for some reason they need to have I'm more like an 8% kind of dude.
Yeah.
Like somewhere in that 7 to 9 pocket is good for me. And too much is too much, and too little is just like kind of doesn't have the same overall roundness to it. It just kind of feels like a little thin or kind of watery sometimes to me. I don't know.
That's it. Yeah, it just feels a little thin. I mean, there's an application for them all.
Yeah, for sure. There's a reason why I would drink it at a particular time with certain type of food or in a certain place or maybe a certain temperature, But
Exactly. Yeah, the thinner, I feel like the thinner more the thinner the more crushable. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm sipping on. This is another one, man, from my homebrew, Magnanimous. It's probably blurred out. But anyway,
you have the blurred factor on, so it's not.
I was trying to take it off. It's kind of weird, man. It won't let me take it off, but whatever.
No, it's
but yeah, this is a super liminal haze from Magnanimous. Hashtag be magnanimous. Yeah, this is a solid one though, man. Double dry hop, double IPA. Citra, Mosaic, and Pacific Sunrise hops. Another good one from them, man. They just, they're kind of in my wheelhouse with this one, but they always do good work, man. Magnanimous is top shelf to me. So, yeah, man, that's what I'm sipping on tonight, man, out of my untapped chalice, if you will. So, salute.
Yeah, salute, man. I'm actually, so speaking of, I am drinking on this tropical beer hug, which is Goose Island. It's straight. It's a 9.9. Oddly enough, you would think it's much stronger than it is, but it actually is pretty smooth. I'm actually drinking a tall can, so I'm not drinking the tropical. I'm drinking the neon. I was actually wrong. Sorry, I'm drinking the 7 right now because they didn't have the tropical in a tall can. So I'm speaking out of turn. But I've had the tropical. I like it. It's actually really smooth for something that's as strong as it is. That whole beer hug line is pretty decent. I would say it's the most flavorful beer. I don't know how much Goose Island is available where you are, but it's up here. It's kind of standard. Like we see it a lot of places. They've got a bunch of different variations, but I do think this beer hug line is kind of some of their better stuff to me.
Oh yeah, man. Goose Island. I don't know if I've had that one in particular, but yeah, Goose Island is all over the place, man. They've got a pretty wide distribution.
Yeah.
In my opinion, man. Yeah, I mean, this is. I'm not. I don't think I've had this one, but I mean, definitely their stouts, man. When their stouts come out, I feel like they have like a big release around Christmas and New Year's, where they have like those huge imperial stouts, man. Goose Island is pretty dope. There was man, it's a spot in Nashville actually, kind of close to where I was. I was in Buena Vista, but this spot was in Germantown, and they always had something from Goose Island on tap. It was like a pizza spot, 312 or 312, which is a area code in Chicago or in Illinois somewhere, and they had great deep dish pizza. But always had something from Goose Island on tap, and they were real proper. But yeah, man, Goose Island definitely there.
I feel like they may have changed their recipe at some point because I wasn't a huge fan of their stuff. And then one day I came back to it and I was like, oh, it tastes a little better than it used to. So yeah, Goose Island is decent, man. I mean, it's not bad. And like I said, it's widely available. So that's the other thing too, is accessibility. Like the beer shop by me, the closest one, they tend to have a decent selection of local stuff, but at the same time, they're just now kind of getting hip to the idea of keeping more IPAs in stock. And even I would say before, they might pick up an IPA, but it was oftentimes something I would consider to be, a U.S. import, for lack of a better word. It wasn't a local. It wasn't anything from around here. And now they're really kind of getting in touch with all these local breweries. It's funny. I don't know if you noticed, I changed the ticker, so it's got all kind of fun facts about beer in the bottom now. So,
oh man, well played.
So I threw that together earlier today. Dang it, I need to edit that. I put one too many things. But
that's crazy. Hops are poisonous to pets, so keep an eye on your furry friends if you're home brewing. That's wild.
So I didn't know that either, man. That was something I learned today, right? Or that. So I went ahead and added that in. I was like, let me add some cool, fun facts.
Yeah, that's a nice touch. No, I like that.
Didn't know the first ever brewers were all women. That's interesting. I think we should probably delve into that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know personally in Charlotte, yeah, man. I'm trying to think of what their label is called, man. It escapes me right now. But Neely Shelton, she's actually from Nashville, and does a lot of good work, man. She's a beer enthusiast, obviously, man. She, I think she may still work at Heist Brewery there in Charlotte, but she gets all around that area. But she had like a really nice brew, man. I could find it on Untapped, but I just I can't think of the name. But yeah, man. I mean, hell, they know how to do it too, man. I mean, it's a lot fewer, I think, women who drink beer. You know what I mean? I think, or at least that's what maybe that's just
that's what it seems like, right? And I think maybe some of that, hopefully, because craft is becoming so nuanced that maybe that'll change. I mean, I think once again, like we discussed last time, if you understand what their palate is, and you're a beer drinker, you can suggest, different types of beers that they can move around in like different spaces. Because oddly enough, when I was actually just doing a quick talk with my cousin's wife, she was like, "Oh, hey, I would love to be on your podcast," because she just likes to be on podcasts. But she was just saying, she's like, "I don't feel like I know enough about beer." And I said, "Well, that's kind of our thing. Like we both believe that like we could probably introduce beer to you that you would understand, right? Like for what you drink, or what your general palate. If you said, hey, I like things that are, sour. I like things that are fruity, blah, blah. Right? We probably could find something she would like. And I don't think she realized that. And so she actually thought it was kind of cool. The funny thing is she asked if she could be like a taste tester for us. I was like, you know what? That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, we should definitely do that.
Yeah, somebody who's completely a newbie, right? Who's not a beer drinker, but then getting her take on what it is to drink certain. The only challenge to me is that, knowing what we can find for her in her area, because she's got some pretty good people that I know up there that probably could put her on. But I was like, yeah, she's in Tidewater area. I'm not sure what's distributed out there, but that would be a matter of like, okay, but that might be cool. Because I do believe that there's a lot to say about the fact that the industry is so wide that you don't have to be a quote unquote beer drinker to like craft beer if you know what it is you want to taste, right? Like if you really know how to figure out what caters to your style. Because to your point, man, my wife loves sours when she had no idea. Like when I first started bringing sours around, which was probably a couple of years ago, I was really getting kind of hip to them, Yeah. And she was like, whoa, that doesn't even taste like beer. That's crazy. I could drink that, And so she would hang out and sometimes drink a beer with us, which is fun. Because she doesn't drink at all.
I mean, when you step in the right spot, man, I don't know. I feel like you can come to expect, and kind of an experience. Like if you tell people what you like, they can serve you up something that's going to be palpable to your palate. Not to go too far down the road, but man, I had an experience like that in Vancouver one time, randomly with sushi, and I went in there, man, and I mean, it was an unbelievable. I think it was called Tojo's. And Master Tojo sushi extraordinaire, in my opinion, man. Master Tojo, man. I'm telling you, man, this cat, in my opinion, world renowned, man. It was some of the best sushi I had, if not the best. But I went in there, man. not to get, like I say, too far down the rabbit hole, but I went in there and it was just like, man, I eat all kind of sushi, man. I usually like tuna.
Yeah.
I like ginger. I like, I do like a bit of, wasabi, this, that, and the other. And he was like, yeah, sometimes you don't need all that stuff, man. Sometimes you just need a good sushi. And I literally talked to him, man, and he crafted, no pun intended there, but like a sushi experience that was unlike anything I've ever experienced. And yeah, man, I mean, if not to say that craft beer is like sushi or whatever, man, but if you step in the right spot, man, you could probably find, I had an experience out there in Reno one time, man, with one of the Cisco's or whatever. I think I told you about that, man. But like, man, we just chopped it up, man. But he was serving me stuff based on my palate and kind of what I like to drink.
It's all about flavors, right? Like understand. And I think anybody who's a good, even bartenders, right? Like if you're a good mixologist, if you're a person who understands flavors, if you're a good chef, right? Like you can kind of hone in and to your point, you're having a conversation with this guy, and as you're talking to him, he's kind of, you're revealing to him what you like. He's pulling information out of you. And someone who's really a master at what they do, that's all they need is like those little bits of information. Oh, you like this kind of flavor? You like this kind of, this is what you're looking for and what you're going to drink or eat. And they know how to give you what you want. And that's a big thing too. I love walking in a place and getting surprised. I like to, and to
great experience.
When you travel, man, you travel all the time. It's like you go to a brewery, and if it's a place that you've never been and they really are localized or really small mom and pop kind of place, you just got to tell them what you're looking for. Like you just describe what your flavor palate's like, what's your generalized, like, this is what I want to get out of the beer. This is kind of like, that's it, just you have something dope.
No, absolutely, man. I mean, some of the best experiences, man, I feel like are those kind of spots, man, and not just with beer, but those kind of spots that are just kind of like, well, tell me what you like, what do you like to have, like just opening the conversation, dialogue, if you will, about that. I mean, it's just kind of like, hey, man, I don't know what you like. It's kind of, I won't say humbling, but just kind of like, hey, man, tell me what you like. Like, let me see what I got. And they can kind of cater it to your, to your palate, which is, pretty unique. I think that craft beers can, those breweries can do that, and it's kind of a cool experience. So, yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, man. I just finished this one. I think I may crack another one, man. Maybe we take a little music break.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna. I got a Voodoo Ranger. I'm gonna drop it only because it's just. Yeah, I'm not sure. We can get into that in a minute, for sure.
Yeah. Give me 1 sec, man. I'm gonna get this color. This is all right. Let's see what we got here, man. I'm back with this is another this is Tampa Bay Brewing Company, Elephant Foot. Man, I gotta get rid of this.
Oh yeah. That's blurry stuff. That's crazy. Never heard of that one. That's Tampa Bay, huh? That's awesome. So that's the
Tampa Bay Brewing Company.
That's really local.
Yeah, I mean it's right here, man. Right here in the other bay.
So have you drank much of their stuff? I mean, I would imagine that's pretty readily available there.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much find this wherever. I mean, they've got I can't think of where exactly they are here in Tampa Bay, but yeah, man, they've got a good tasting room, good vibe in there. This one is just a IPA, pretty much straightforward. I would say this is more like coincidentally like a West Coast IPA. Given the hops, it's not like real hazy or, I don't know if you can see this, but not real hazy.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
I
can kind of see it through the blur. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's funny, like you mentioned, like
a little more maltier, kind of like what Double Dog might do, kind of malty. It's not hazy, but malty. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I mean, I was just mentioning. You said something about West Coast. I think we've touched on that a few times, and like the differences, right? And like, I'm more of a fan of like something super hazy. I love like when my beer has sediment in the bottom, and like I just like when I can tell there's fruit in the beer, right? Like
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I don't have enough experience really being on the West Coast. But a lot of West Coast stuff tends to be a little different. You said, I think you mentioned like maltier, right? A little less like less hazy.
Yeah.
It's a little more refined.
Yeah. I think you said like sharp the other day, and I think that really kind of resonated with me in terms of like the West Coast style. The more and more I drink this, let me back up off that West Coast style. This is not a West Coast IPA by any means, like a session IPA or anything like that. It's kind of malty. I'm getting, it's kind of hoppy. I won't say piney, but kind of hoppy. It's got a sweetness to it. It's solid though, man. I can't remember what I give this on Untappd, but I would say probably about a 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, somewhere around in there.
Yeah.
It's crushable. It's not too heavy. The ABV alcohol content, I would say this is let me see here. If you're curious, this is a 7.0. So it's got a little weight to it.
Yeah.
A little weight to it.
Anything 7 and over to me is like kind of, it depends, like
you can feel it.
Yeah. I like something in the 7 and 9 range, but that's my go-to. So
yeah.
So
Elephant Foot. It's a solid one.
So speaking of West Coast, man, I recently had this, right? This Impending Doom West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
And, man, it's rough. I'm trying to think who was this Impending Doom?
I think that's 7 C's.
It's 7 C's, yes. Which is funny because as much as I was talking to you before about Ballast Point, they had a lot of like seafaring type of. They've been absorbed. Broke my heart because they were so. But that was then Ballast Point was a really good big go-to for me. I really need to figure out where they're distributing now because I think that may have changed some. I don't see them as often as I used to in our area. And that's why I was kind of curious if they've actually operate under the same name. It'd be hard to imagine that the company that bought them out of Chicago would do away with it with the brand equity, but I just don't see them out here anymore, man. And I mean, I used to really love their line. I mean, they had a lot of really good stuff.
I mean, it's funny, man. There's actually a Ballast Point here in Tampa, but obviously that's a totally different thing. But yeah, I'm looking at that now. Ballast Point, American brewery, founded in '96 by Jack White in San Diego. Let's see here. Started in the back of Homebrew Mart, which is a homebrew supply store that Jack White founded in '92. So yeah, man. I mean, they've been around for a while, man. I think Ballast Point was kind of one of those synonymous with craft brewery before it was even called craft.
Yeah, before we were calling it craft brew, these guys were doing something that like we didn't know what to call it. I think we just it's different beer.
Yeah. Because I'm from Ballast Point. I remember like shandies, like a grapefruit shandy that I would sip, like especially when it was hot, and just really refreshing beers are the ones that I really remember.
See, I was really heavy on like the Sculpin. That was like one of my favorite IPAs.
Oh yeah, Sculpin. Yeah,
that was a ridiculously good IPA. And I even went to the brewery before. There was a lot of beers that were only there that you can get, like the Victory at Sea, which is that's a barrel aged the porter. But it was that the one Victory at Sea? Maybe that was the one that was barrel aged. Like, man, that was a rough. I mean, it's 10%, but it was a very good. It was a seasonal only, but it was a really unique beer, and you could get it when you went to the actual brewery. It's weird because their website's still active, man. They still have an active website. They're still selling things under that brand. I just don't know what happened to the distribution as far as where I'm at because I just don't see it as readily available,
Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure. I'll pull it up now, man. Just
they did a lot of cool stuff, like I said, the Victory at Sea was a really cool porter, and it was barrel aged. It had cask and all kind of cool stuff going on, and it was just very different. Strong beer, but like strong to drink. But once again, 10%. So like not the strongest I've ever had, but still, give you a little kick to it. I love, man. I really regret not. And Sculpin was really just back in the day. That was all over the place over here. So me and my brother, I think once we found that, she was like, that was our go-to for about a year, straight up, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, aside from that, just, they had a beautiful beautiful spot to go visit, and just things change, right? I mean, they got bought out. I just am curious as to what they're doing as far
Hmm.
as how come I can't get this in my local area anymore.
Right.
You know? So
Yeah, I'll do some research on that one, man. I'm kind of curious myself. They definitely had like quite a few offerings that I
yeah.
mess with. So yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, it looks like they got purchased recently by that company, some company in Chicago, another brewery in Chicago, and yeah, hopefully they would allow that brand to continue. Man, Ballast Point is just like I say, synonymous with craft. I think in their tagline is literally dedicated to the craft. So it,
Oh wow! So I don't know. So and it was Kings and Convicts that bought them. Kings and
that's it.
Convicts
That's it.
Brewing. And
Yep.
I personally have not. I really feel like I've seen some of their stuff out here. I can't really say that I mean, when it comes to craft, I mean, I'm adventurous, so I try to buy anything I don't know. If I see something new, I try to check. And I feel like I've
Sure.
seen their logo, but I don't really see it. Also, not very readily available out here. It's kind of got this little chalk drawing, kind of like logo style. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really struggle to find their stuff on the East Coast. So maybe Ballast Point's really just out west when it comes to like store purchases and stuff like
It
that.
could be. When I think of Ballast Point, I think of the West Coast immediately.
Yeah.
So, for whatever reason that is, I mean, that's clearly where it
I think they
originated.
really were based out of San Diego, was it?
San Diego.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they definitely captured, here on their website, man, it's like, this colorful fish, and then it's showing the bottom of the ocean floor, man, the Pacific. So that's what, yeah, I mean, it screams West Coast.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, actually, the Sculpin is a West Coast IPA, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, but man, what one of the better executed West Coast IPAs I could find in a store in a bottle, right? Like that's I'm not saying that because there's all kind of things that you don't always find, on the shelf. And I used to be like, man, this is a pretty solid beer that I can get, down the street from my house in the local convenience store. And it's even surprising that they had that kind of distribution and reach at that time that I don't see it now in the same way. Even as a brand, I just don't see them as available on the East Coast now. So
yeah, I used to see them a lot in Kroger. Coincidentally, man, when I was in Nashville, and specifically the Sculpin IPA, I would see that quite a bit. And it seemed like there was at least one other one, but yeah, I mean, their distribution was, you know, they cast a pretty big net, man. I mean,
yeah,
being at the grocery store level, in that assortment of beers, you know what I mean, with your Bush and Michelob and all of that, man. I mean, they were right beside there. You know, kind of. I don't know.
You get like grocery store. It's weird because, like, so once again, up here, like you don't. It's hard to gauge because we don't have grocery store distribution in the same way. I would think that would be like a really great thing for a brewery is to get that level of distribution. So yeah, once you're on a Kroger shelf, I mean, sure you're there. To me, like
I mean,
you're hitting
Kroger is
stuff. Yeah,
obviously operating a metric shit ton of stores. So
for
I mean,
sure.
you're producing and brewing a lot of beer on a.
You're in the South and you're probably in the Midwest pretty good. I mean, yeah, I don't know how far they stretch west, but I mean that's a good footprint.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
I love a good Kroger, man. I ain't been, once again, and also, like I mentioned before, I mean, some of the Krogers now have bars. So I actually have gotten a Sculpin off tap at a Kroger bar. And that's kind of cool. It's like, it was nice because I think I was really surprised to see that they run the bars in the grocery stores like bars. They had official buyers. If you go to one Kroger, sometimes the guy who's buying for that store is better than the other one and just has a better
Sure.
understanding of how to serve the people, right? But they
Sure.
really did a good job of making sure there was a lot of local access, right? So if you're in Richmond and there's a Kroger bar there or near there, you're getting beer from Richmond. I was in Roanoke a lot, where my wife's from.
Yeah.
It's like, man, when Ballast Point was located there, they had Ballast Point on tap at every Kroger bar. It's like, man, this is good stuff. And even
It's good
Sierra
beer.
Nevada now is more available there because they relocated their East Coast operations to just outside of Roanoke. So you can find their beer more readily available, just on the grocery store shelves and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. I mean, because it's even as I was talking about my cousin's wife, just like I don't know what they sell in her particular area until I'm there. Sometimes, right? There's some things I know are going to be available. Goose Island's going to be there, right?
Sure.
But if I'm really looking for like that pocket, something that's a little different that not everybody can have or not everyone sees, right? Yeah, I gotta go there sometimes for that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I feel like something similar happened to. I don't know if you're familiar with Wicked Weed. They are a spot out in Asheville, North Carolina, not Nashville, Tennessee, but Asheville, North Carolina.
Hmm.
Um, Situated kind of like in the oh man, what is that mountain range? I feel like it's the Blue Ridge Mountains, maybe.
Probably, yeah, Asheville. I think it's Blue Ridge.
Asheville.
It's not Blue Ridge, it's Smokies because
Could be Smokies, actually.
yeah,
Now I'm thinking about it.
well, the Blue Ridge Highway, right? That's all in the similar. I think it kind of has a crossover somehow.
Yeah, the geography escapes me right now, but the man, the feel of that brewery was amazing, man. It was crazy. But the funny thing that happened, man, just talking about like the distribution of like a spot like Wicked Weed, who was independent, not widely distributed. They were renowned in that community of Asheville, really throughout the Carolinas. I think people knew about them and respected what they were doing, but it was like I feel like they got
Oh, you know what? And I remember
backlash when they sold.
I've had Wicked Weed. It's funny you mentioned that. I remember seeing they had some stuff up here at one point. Because, I mean, you get a lot of North Carolina
Yeah.
crossover in the DMV area.
Yeah.
I definitely remember their stuff. It's been a while. I don't see it as much, right? And that's a funny thing about too, like distribution and rotation. If they got bought out, I mean, they may not even be under the same brand, but I definitely remember seeing their stuff back in the day.
No, they definitely are. Let me share my screen because they're. I mean, they're. The funny thing is, man, like, and it's really weird because the community that I was kind of like, connected to in Charlotte, my brother. I'm probably always going to make references to him, man, because it just is what it is. But I remember when it happened and him talking to me about it, and I think I may have been in Asheville or something at the spot. And they have, I mean, like, I don't know if you've been to Asheville, but the city is
a while. It's been a while. I used to spend quite a bit of time there.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful kind of feel.
Dope, man. I was going to actually go into this talk about Asheville when you first mentioned it because it's such a cool mountain town. It's got this hippie kind of feel to it, right? Or
yes,
it's even cool to say nowadays. But like it's definitely Asheville's different, man. It's different. And it's its own thing. It's quiet, but it's like it's not too small, right?
Exactly.
And I think that the culture of like craft brew makes sense there. It just kind of all fits in that little area. I mean, it's just it has this whole hipster kind of hippie vibe. It's different. I mean, like I think I don't know, man. I enjoy it. I used to meet my brother at Biltmore Mall and just go eat at Garfield sometimes, and then hang out and go shop in the mall, and then grab a beer. And back in the day, Garfield's up there, which is solid, good food.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. It's just a really cool town. There's a lot of cool things that go on up there. The beer culture is cool. I don't know if that particularly happened because of Wicked Weed. I think there's another one up there, like Highland Park, I think is what it is, or Highland Brewing, one of them. But yeah, man, it's just a cool area. A buddy of mine actually, and a group of his like car club folks, man. Shout out to Scum Life. They go up there for Scum Life, man. It's crazy. I'm an honorary member, and I respect it completely, man. But they go up there for a. I think it's in the fall, man, but it's called Tail of the Dragon, man. There's this road that has all of these curves.
Yeah. No, the Tail of the Dragon is that's legend. That area, that's that whole area. I think is that 26 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to the mountains and it goes back and forth. Dude, I've ridden that road a number. It might not be 26. I know that road though. And
It's something like that.
yeah,
They call it Tail of the Dragon, though,
it's
man.
famous because it goes back and forth all crazy, and
Yeah.
you got to break down on that road because it's also downhill. So there's times when like you can lose control.
Yeah. Oh, it's dangerous, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. And they've got these. I know a few people, but man, they've got some like crazy high performance vehicles. We'll just call them that, without trying to flex too much because they're not my cars, but I know them. And they get down, man. They're really pushing kind of the limit on these curves, man. And
Yeah, man.
this trail, like the Tail of the Dragon.
I can't say I haven't been in a situation with a friend of mine who was driving and doing a whole lot in that area. You know what I mean? And
It's too much for me, man.
Slow down.
I'm like, slow down. Yeah. Just let me enjoy the mountains and let me live.
No, but Asheville is a really cool town because, honestly, like when we're in school, it's only an hour and a half from Knoxville. And the cool thing about Asheville is it's right between Knoxville and Columbia, South Carolina, where my brother was. So that was like the midpoint. So if I was driving and I hit Asheville, I could either stop and hang out for a little bit, or I knew that was a place that like I'm halfway to Columbia. And we would often, like, there was days that I'd wake up in the morning and call him and just meet in Asheville just to go have lunch and talk, right? So but once again, the culture of that town has always been, to me, a little bit like has like an independent kind of spirit, and that's a counterculture, right? Like, and that probably comes from like I think there was a very strong hippie culture in Asheville, right? And it's weird. I don't know if I'd say it's liberal, but like it's definitely very much like free, right? And I think for that reason, I could see craft beer. I can see craft beer fitting in, like, right? People there probably more so. I don't think about chain restaurants when I think about Asheville. I think more like mom and pop, like little small places, like quaint little streets. Yeah, I mean it's a cool town, man. It's a fun town, man. I mean, I think us being in Knoxville, it made it that much easier to really get to Asheville and understand that that's its own kind of city and it's different. And, I mean, I saw Outkast for the first time in Asheville, actually, at the Coliseum.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
I was at Jason, China.
Oh damn, that's crazy.
I
went up there to see them.
Dude, I could say I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Rich was with us. I know Rich was there. Wood might have been there. Yeah, it's like it's different.
Yeah, man. Oh man, good. Yeah, hey man, nothing like having good people around and celebrating. Man, I don't know how I missed out on that. Man, I must have been. Man, I don't know what the hell I was doing.
We're talking like 99, 98, 99. Like it was way back.
I was there. I was there. That's the thing. I was there. I was probably sidetracked. We won't get into that. But,
yeah, you might have been booed up.
yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? No, but yeah, definitely Asheville, man. Definitely one of those spots, man. Greenville has got a good situation going on too, man. I'm trying to think the beer in Greenville, but just like the location between Greenville and Charlotte, I felt like I would always hit Asheville on the way or something like that. And there's a spot that's kind of around that area too. I'm trying to think of it. Fonta Flora Brewery is a jewel nestled right in there in that area, man. I think it may be 30 minutes outside of like Asheville. If you're leaving Asheville, you can catch it on the way to Charlotte. If you're leaving Charlotte, obviously vice versa, you can catch it on the way to Asheville. But man, really good spot. Another spot that my brother introduced me to, man. And Fonta Flora. If you're ever in that area, do yourself a favor, man. Yeah. Definitely get up Fonta Flora. Yeah, man. They just, like I've only been there twice, unfortunately, but those 2 times were extremely memorable. The vibe in there that they've got, like, man, just walking up on the brewery itself, you're about to walk into like just a special place, man. It just felt right. You're just like, oh man, these guys have done it from the curb all the way to the bar.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. If they're serving, their beer selection looks incredible. I've never been there, but if they're keeping all this in rotation, I mean, because a lot of these places, like we talked about, like they, they'll have things in rotation off and on, week per week or seasonal or whatever. But man, what a lineup though! This looks incredible.
I mean,
it's insane.
I highly recommend them. I haven't been shit. I mean, it was pre-pandemic when I went in there, but I mean, it was probably even, I don't think I've been in there in 5 or 6 years, but I'll never forget that spot. If I'm around that area, I'm trying to go to Fontaflora. They are top shelf. Wow. In my opinion.
I gotta go, man. I gotta check this out. I mean, the best I can do is, if I've seen their beers, probably in a tap room.
Yeah.
I've not been to Louisville. I've spent a little more time in some of the other cities, but no, I mean that's a good one to remember. It was not hip, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it, man. It's definitely worth it. That was one in my travels that I had the pleasure of and met, like, I mean, they're just, didn't even know who I was talking to. I think I met like the head brewer out there, like maybe even just been talking to like the owner. I mean, and just felt the love, man. They're, just a good vibe in there the whole time. So yeah, Fontaflora, man, definitely touch them up.
Check them out. Well, it's funny. I think I mentioned to you, like, so I always talk about Aslan. Because, like, man, that's my home brew, right? That's my spot, right? They're close. I mean, for me, it's a drive across the bridge. They also have a situation where they deliver. So if you're within a driving range of them, at least within the same state, they drive it to you. And my cousin lives like 2 miles from Aslan, so
nice.
But I go there and pop up. But they also have like a call ahead thing. But the other one that I really know, and I think I've dropped a few times, that's big out here. I don't say big. They're small, but is Mustang Sally, and they're out of Chantilly, Virginia. But I do think that their stuff is competing on a level with Aslan to where they do just as good a beer. I will say, of course, I'm more familiar with Aslan because I spent so much time going there and getting beer, and I bought so much of their beer. But Hello Newman, I think what's fun is all these breweries have their own kind of like identity, right? And so these guys, even if they're consistently doing the same style or doing something different, they just have fun with beer. This is a pretty simple, 6.6. It's an IPA, but it's citrusy, it's smooth. This is one of those beers that like I could introduce to somebody, especially because it has like to me, it's just like one of those hot summer day beers, right? Like it's not too strong, it's not boozy at all. It almost tastes like you're drinking a refreshing drink of like some lemonade or something when you drink it. It has like a very citrusy notes, but really high quality, man. And I like that too. So, but this is like one of my secondary places that I always look for now because my cousin introduced me to Mustang Sally. And at the time he was like, hey man, it's a little bit cheaper than Aslan, but it's on the Aslan level. And so I mess with these guys, man. They really do some pretty high quality stuff. And so I wanted to throw that in there. This is like one of my other kind of like local go-to brews. I mean, there's quite a few in the DC area because DC is so dense. We've got DC Bra, we've got, like we mentioned earlier, Calvert and different ones. But these guys, I think only a few of them to me are operating on a really high level, right? Where they're putting out stuff that I think is above and beyond.
Yeah.
And Mustang Sally's they surprised me a lot. I mostly find their stuff in Total Wines. I have yet to go to their actual location, so that's on my list. But
I'm messing with them just based on the Seinfeld reference. When
I first saw Hello Newman as a beer name, I was like, oh, it's awesome. I love the can art, all that stuff. Cool, right?
Yeah, definitely. Chantilly. I'll Google that next time I'm in that area, man. I'll be back up there.
You'll be there soon, man. You'll be there. Not to mention, you actually have a good reason to probably be in that area, even.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Work-wise, man. Blessed to have a job that takes me different places, man, and allows me to, I always say, soak up the culture, if you will.
And until they find out you're using your work trips for beer tours.
Oh man. Well, I mean, if I wasn't doing my job, then they could make that claim. But I'm fortunate and blessed to be equipped to do a good job at what I do. So
For sure.
it typically the pleasure doesn't interfere with the business. We'll just say that. So, and in my opinion, you have to experience the pleasure to be doing good at the business, man. If you're only business, man, you're not really living. So, yeah, happy to be at a spot that encourages, soaking up the culture, if you will. As long as you're getting your job done. But yeah, man. That's I'll be back up there soon, man. I'll be back up there soon, man. With Richmond and all of these other outliers, man, in Virginia, man. I'm glad that that's part of my territory, man. So yeah, I'll definitely be coming much more familiar with that with the beer scene up there, man.
Well,
Throughout Nova, throughout Richmond, throughout Impending Doom.
Well, a quick follow up to what I was mentioning. I kind of missed. I forgot. Impending Doom is actually from Heavy Seas, which is a
Heavy Seas. That's
Baltimore. Yes, because you mentioned, and I was like, why didn't I know? Heavy Seas is out of Baltimore.
Yeah,
they've got some tasting rooms up there, and they got a brewery and everything like so. And Heavy Seas does some quality stuff, man. I mean, quite a bit of quality beer. Like they're one of those guys that out here, it's a bottle shop beer, like you mentioned. You can kind of find it really readily available in a lot of places, but they're known for good quality, man. They don't do anything whack. They don't do anything. I think that is like they definitely are catering to the masses.
Yeah.
I've yet to go visit, so I think there's a lot of things. But Loose Cannon is one of their big go-tos out here. Loose Cannon IPA is super, yeah. Loose Cannon, Double Cannon, both very good, right? I mean, they've even got some citrus ones. What's the citrus one called? But either way, like Loose Cannon's pretty quality. Impending Doom, I like a lot though. The Tropical Cannon's another one. So they have this theme about cannons and boats and the sea and pirates and all that kind of stuff. Really similar to Ballast Point in a way. I'm not sure what it is about. I mean, we're in Maryland, so maybe that's part of it. But
oh man, I'm in Tampa Bay, man. So the Buccaneers are a big deal down here. So the Pirates. Hell, my son went on a big pirate cruise, man, for his 5th birthday, man. So yeah, man. Heavy Seas, that feels like right at home. Seven Seas is another spot I think that's down here.
Exactly. I think when we mentioned you said 7 Seas, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
I mentioned follow back up and mention this just so that it is clear.
No, I appreciate that correction, man. Heavy Seas versus 7 Seas. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's I wonder that whole like pirate theme, and there's quite a bit of that going on, or like boats and nautical stuff going on and craft beer. So
yeah, no, definitely.
That was more of a correction from earlier for not mentioning. And Heavy Seas, man, they're quality. If you see Loose Cannon on the shelf, if you see, I think they may even have a Triple Cannon, to be honest. But I think quality beer, man, you wouldn't be upset. You would drink this beer and be like, hey, this is a good 4, a solid 3.75 kind of thing. It's like the tropical's nice, and the summertime it's got pineapple notes, right? They've got like a chocolate volcano. That's some more darker beers for the winter. But just an overall decent operation, man. They're not putting out anything that I would be disappointed in.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I've had good experiences with them. This is their on tap spot. 1.37 million. They get it in, man. 5,000 monthly, man. Folks are messing with their beer. I mean, folks are definitely messing with Heavy Seas. So,
and I think they get pretty good distribution too. I think we talked about that. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes the numbers are hard to read because like some of the places once again, Sierra Nevada, one of the earlier beer companies that was distributing really heavy. They tend to do some adventurous stuff with certain lines, but at the same time, not the pinnacle of beer, right? I tend to think some of these smaller places that are taking more chances are the ones who really convince me or show me stuff that oh man, this is amazing. Like, Magnanimous is your go-to, just like Aslan is kind of mine, because they just do stuff with beer that you don't expect, right? They just surprise you
Yeah.
all the time, and like you're never, I just always go in there expecting something different.
Absolutely. I'm kind of kicking myself, man. And the last time, I feel like not the last time, but the time before last, man, I was there. We went and picked up a few offerings from Aslan, man, and I'm kicking myself for not going in and at least just walking around in there.
Well,
I'll have to
we'll go in this time, man. Next time you come back,
yeah,
they have a beer garden too. They do the beer garden on weekends. I mean, like,
yeah,
that is a pretty hip place. It's like when you describe like certain places you go visit, where these are the feel of the place has this neighborhood feel, right? They're doing something. They don't seem to be trying to cater outside of their own space. They just
yeah,
want to make a real cool vibe. And when you go in there, you're in their world, right? And
right,
it's a little bit of recreation, a little bit of cool ticket type stuff going on, great bar, right? TVs and sports on, and they got a little gift shop in there, but it's very much like organic. It doesn't feel like corporate-y. It doesn't feel like
yeah,
a restaurant. It feels like I'm here for beer, right?
right,
And that thing, actually, Aslan has a pizzeria inside. It's like they join forces with like a small pizza operation, so you can get pizza in there. But like, it's not about the food; it's about the beer,
right.
which is what I like about tasting rooms. Most tasting rooms, at least the ones out here, are really minimal, right? Matter of fact, most tasting rooms out here, you can't even get food in. You get food truck food, but
Right.
you kind of sit in there, you drink the beer, they got tables and stuff, and then you walk outside, get your food, bring it back in, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Which I don't mind either.
No, I don't mind that at all. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll definitely we'll do that. I'll be back up there on the 20th, man. July 20th, I think through the 23rd, man. So we definitely got to prioritize this trip, man. So I can kind of.
And dude, I've had most of those beers on Aslan's website.
Oh man,
I really
if
had
you're
them
down the street and you haven't,
Yeah.
I would say shame on you.
So many I could see right now off the top of my head. I'm like, oh, there we go, man. Like Master of Oranges, the Pew Pew Pew, which is like a real quick, easy kind of go-to IPA. I mean, their porters are great. Their stouts are good. They got some really dope stouts. I mean, I will say their stouts are high, like price-wise. I'm like, oh man, hold up, man. They generally sell stouts in like a single bottle as opposed to a 6-pack or a 4-pack, right? So you might pay per bottle for a stout, but they're good, man. They're good. It's definitely.
Oh man, you're sell yourself, man. Homie said it's like I'm already sold. Like
the key for them to me is flavor, bro. I mean, and I think we talked about this before. It's not really necessarily like I'm not trying to get wasted when I go to Aslan. I'm like, dude, they have the flavors that they produce, the things they do with beer. It's so interesting, and I'm like, oh man, I've never had.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had Power Moves at a couple different spots. Spot in Hampton, spot in DC. I've had a couple spots in DC actually. I've had Sensei. I think we went and got some cans that time. We went by the tap room in Alexandria.
Yeah, Sensei's quality, man. That's part of that whole like line of martial arts beers. Sensei and Master of Karate. There's like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah. All of those. I think we had Pinkies Up. I think it was a quintuplet.
That one right there is like
that was unbelievable.
We definitely had that, and that one's hard, man. It's a tough one to drink because it's really high in percentage, but at the same time, it's surprisingly not as strong as you would think it is to be as high in alcohol percentage.
Yeah,
like, it's still drinkable. It's sweet. Yeah, it's very sweet, which is the thing. I think when you start pushing the ABV. Like oftentimes, I don't know what they're trying to do to kind of balance that booziness, but the sugars are like, man, so it's a little sweet. But
it is.
Once again, I've had Pinkies Up at least on 3 occasions. I've bought a 4-pack to share with other people. Just be like, dude, you got to try this. Like it's
strong, a good beer, man.
But it's not what you think it's gonna be, right?
Yeah. Nah, there's no way to slice it, man. That's a good beer. Personally, that's touching on the flavors and the alcohol content. I mean, that comes and goes. I'm not too sometimes pressed on that, but I respect a good level of alcohol and the fact that they know how to balance it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
They think it tastes like it tastes well, and that's all relative, right? Like
yeah,
you know, I know when it's pushing a higher ABV, I'm just like, oh, it's actually smooth. It's not so sugary that it tastes like I'm drinking cognac, right? Or that I
right.
can't even, I can't even finish this. I'm quick to give away a beer that's too sweet. Like, I don't, I'm even a guy. I never really like mixed drinks. I don't like mixing. I don't like sugar in my alcohol as much as possible. I know it's there, right? But
Right.
additional sugar, right? Um,
No, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah,
I mean, it makes a difference, man, when they, there's a balance, man, that they really achieve, man, with that. And it's not something that I would say is easily accomplished, man. I mean, it takes, a good level of skill, man, to pull that off, man, and it be, maintain the level of smoothness that I want, like haziness and dank, and citrus, all of those things, man, that I really look for, man, in IPAs. But yeah, man, they just do a good job, man. Aslan, definitely, man. That's I definitely want to go inside next time I'm there. Like I say, I'll be there on the 20th. So
well,
we
hey,
got
this time we got some time. We'll run in there and kick it, man. I mean, my cousin loves to go sit down there. I think the
yeah.
pandemic made it
Tell
rough.
me to pull up, man.
Yeah, the pandemic made it rough for all of us to be able to go sit and enjoy that stuff. Even I went to Aslan one time and pulled up, had placed the order right online, and they had to shut the place down for COVID the same day. And so when I pulled up to get my beer, they were closed. I was like, but I mean, yeah, the pandemic, because I mean, I know it's so close to both of us and so close to him that he was hitting that place on the way home from work on a regular. He called me, hey, man, I'm at Aslan, right? And I was like, damn, I'm not at Aslan with you. So, you know,
Yeah. I mean, I would be remiss to say, man, that some breweries out there, man, were kind of like my means to escape, because nobody was really going. But at the same time, man, like during the pandemic, like it was like, man, I got to go somewhere. I got to get out of this house. And, more than I would probably like to admit, given the circumstances. But yeah, a lot of times, man, I was popping into Gambit.
I was out getting drunk at the bar, and they
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I would call it soaking up the culture.
like,
And
you lean on that C word real heavy.
hey, man, I'm just calling it how I call it. And I mean, for me, yeah, it's not necessarily about getting wasted. I'm not trying to get wasted. I just like good beer.
Where we tell Tanya, hey, man, I'm gonna soak up the culture.
Hey, sometimes that really has to do with hitting a museum. Sometimes that has to do with hitting a good coffee shop, man, and just being with the people. I'm a man of the people, so.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, safely, obviously. But yeah, man, Aslan definitely, man. I feel like that will wind up being one of my brewery home away from homes, if you will. I
Yeah.
just feel like they do good work. I've only had about 4 or 5 of their beers, but what I've had, I'm like, oh yeah, this is top shelf. These guys know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and you just immediately, in my opinion, you immediately get a good feel from them. So I imagine when we go check them out, I'm going to be like, yeah, man, I love this place.
Yeah,
So
you generally can't go wrong with their selection, and so that's the main thing. It's just like, oh, what's up this? And I think you mentioned how Magnanimous does like a new beer every week, or they try to do something. I like them because too, it's like you catch what you catch when it's available, right? And they brew in
that's it.
batches, so you know what you're getting is fresh. Number one, right? You know what
Yep.
you're getting is it's been brewed in the past 2 weeks, roughly,
Yeah.
right? Or even if it's been brewed in 3 weeks or so, it's you're getting it closer to production time. And then
Yeah.
they don't have it available again for like another
Right.
however long.
Could be a year, could be 5,
It could be next summer. It could, but the point is like I haven't seen their milkshake IPA in quite a while, and that could be me just missing it. But I also, as much as I do like that particular beer, I'm okay with the fact that I don't see it all the time. That makes me feel better about them in a way. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's weird. Like I like the fact that they force me to choose beers that I don't always see all the time. Right? I see something
Right.
new. Oh yeah, you can't get comfortable with them too much. They do still have their go tos, right? You're gonna always find the Starfish or something like the Master of Oranges or something like Sensei. Maybe not that particular title, but you're going to find something that's, once again, to your point, right? It's citrusy, or it's, it's malty, or it's whatever. You can find what suits your palate, but it may not be the same exact beer, right? So that's
Right. Yeah, man. This is one that I would say. I'm trying to share my screen here. It's doing something, but yeah, this is Magnanimous, man. The Juice
yeah.
Lord.
You mentioned that to me.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a good. This is
Wow.
way too many beers, but anyway,
Yes.
I'm just gonna stop sharing. But yeah, that's kind of one of those. That Juice Lord from Magnanimous, man. That was Juice Lord and Savior. They've got Juice Lord Almighty, Juice Lord Have Mercy, and then Juice Lord. So there's like, again, like 4 iterations of them where yeah, man, I mean, and it's double, a triple. They're just different iterations, man, for different kind of hops too. But they just, man, anyway, I could fall in Magnanimous pretty much any time. Like you say, they release, I think they do a new release every week, or at least every Friday.
Crazy.
So, that always keeps me coming back. So
Yeah. I always appreciate the fact that they're pushing themselves, right? Not necessarily because, they probably obviously have enough beers to rotate them, but the fact that they're trying to do something new all the time just shows you that they care about the craft enough to try to give you something different all the time. And I appreciate that. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Magnanimous, man. It's your spot, dude. They got I was throwing in the Magnanimous. You were throwing in Fly Dialogue.
Oh, you're okay.
Give a shout out.
Nah, Magnanimous. I love those dudes, man. They just, it's a couple cats in there that I definitely mess with, man. The head brewer, I'm not trying to name drop, but yeah, my guy in there, Josh, man, he does really good stuff, man. And just, the cool thing too, I think about breweries, like craft breweries specifically, man, is like they're just knowledgeable, man, and they're just trying to share. So
Yeah.
they wound up putting you on a lot of different, like, other breweries around. Like, I found out about Woven Water because of Magnanimous, and Woven Water does good work. I found out about, other spots because, they're willing to share. They're like, yo, man, you definitely got to go down here. You definitely got to go over to St. Pete and hit up.
Yeah. They respect the fact that you appreciate good beer, so they want to put you on, right? And that's something about the culture that's different too. It's like, when it comes to like beer culture in general, or just people who are into craft, who are into really seeking out good craft beers. Like, to your point, and it's like it's a community. People want to share information with you. They want you to find the good stuff, just like they have, right? They kind of want to tell you about it. And there's a little bit of like bragging on it. Oh man, you had this, but you ain't had this, right? But at the same time, it's still them wanting to expose you to something you haven't had and kind of telling you what's best, right? And I think that's kind of fresh.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely, man.
Is that their general hashtag? Be Magnanimous? Is that what
Be Magnanimous, man?
Okay. That's cool. And it's funny because we probably should look into like what those are, because I'm sure everyone has their thing. Because I mean, I might throw up like Magnanimous Brewery, and that's not even something they're curating.
No, that's definitely them. Magnanimous. How they describe it is people who have no vanity, they have no jealousy, they feed on the true and the solid wherever they find it, and what is more, those people find it everywhere. Like, I completely relate with that. And on top of their beer, man, I feel like they get it. Like they get me, and they get the beer that I like, which is all over the spectrum. They just do good work, man. I definitely mess with them, man. I probably mess with them more than I mess with the beers or the breweries that I mess with in Nashville, like Southern Grist and like Bearded Iris. I feel like these dudes, they really have a good, I don't know. It just may be the people, man. It may be the people. The people are a little different, man. And, the vibe that they've created or curated, if you will, in their tasting room downtown, man. It's kind of like Tampa Heights. It's right on the doorstep of downtown. And they've just done a really good job, man. Yeah, I mess with them.
Well, it's interesting too. I think we talked about like how how the actual visits or some of the experiences are in these places, and also like how they tend to try to create a whole like, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying, a vibe. So
Yeah.
mentioning like even the names of beers, right? Like so, it's funny I mentioned earlier. Calvert has a beer called "I Just Crush a Lot," right? Um, they also have a beer called "Cruising Down the Street." They have another beer called "MI64," right? So like it's two beers that complete a whole line of a famous hip hop lyric from Boys in the Hood. Cruising down the street, "MI64," but they made that into two beers. So
Nice.
MI64 is a beer, but Cruising Down the Street's another beer. And I was like, that's so crazy. And all these are hip hop references or cultural references for people who
Uh,
are into hip hop, right? And I think that's really
yeah.
interesting that like it's kind of fun that they. That's the cool thing about the culture too, about like beer culture is like craft beer tends to do a little bit more, I guess, what I consider play, right? They kind of play with like fun. It just seems like a fun thing to be around, right? Like they don't take
Yeah.
it too seriously, right? Like having a funny name for a beer like Hello Newman, like it's just one of those jokes you just get, right? And when you see it, you're like, oh, I gotta try this Hello Newman beer, right? Like it doesn't.
Right.
So that's really cool, man. I think it's kind of interesting that the ones that do get it, right? They tend to do subtle things to make you know that they're throwing you some sort of signal or some sort of like inside joke or whatever, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Nah, definitely, man. It's the I just put this one up. The if you know, you know, man. Like
I was,
it's one of those.
I was trying to decipher what it like. Ick. I was like,
That's it.
I don't know that brewery. I never heard of them.
If you know, you know, man. You're a part of kind of like this exclusive, club, man. Like and a lot of times it really just has to do with, I am throwing culture around a lot, man, but there's culture, subculture, man, like what people kind of like attach on to or just relate with, man. Hello Newman, Seinfeld. I fuck with Seinfeld. Like I immediately know what I like, what these guys are doing. I've never had that beer, but if I see it, I'm buying it. Period.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
just
It
off
just
that alone.
exactly, and it's a solid beer too, and that's the thing too. Like they kind of know what to pitch, right? They know what's going to give you that extra little hook
Yeah.
to make you think about it when you're buying, right? So
Yeah.
it's funny.
If it's not, they failed you, because it's like, come on, man. You can't
You wasted that great title on this whack beer, like
you can't do that. You can't do that, man.
Well,
Wale made
I
that
wonder.
mixtape, some, what was it, nothing, mixtape about nothing or whatever, man, and
Yeah,
had
yeah, Wale. It was a mixtape about nothing with the Seinfeld cover. That's
bruh,
a lot.
if
That's
that
a lot.
mixtape was bad, bruh, he would have got roasted. Like, I mean, you can't
But
bring
even the
Seinfeld.
branding was like it was like hinting at the Seinfeld thing, and also like
Yeah.
Seinfeld was a show about nothing. That's kind of cool, right? That
Oh man, it was dope. But to that point, it's like if that mixtape was trash, it would have been like, yo, don't ever mess with this dude.
Well, it's funny you put this if you know you know, because I actually one of the segments I was in, this is sidebar, was for the station was if you don't know now you know, right? Which is
Yeah.
like which similar thing, right? If you know you know, Pusha T had a song called that, right? And it makes sense. But I was like, I was thinking for a segment about artists, right? If you my bad, wrong shit. If you
Right.
don't know now you know, because
Right.
the same thing. Those catchphrases tend to give you like a little bit of something to understand what you're getting. Like just that phrase alone, it's like, oh, okay, something new.
Yeah.
Something new.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It
I
just kind of, it gives you an idea of where these guys' heads are, man, or it's just one of those things, man.
Well, and it's a teaser because if you go into the place and it has a similar kind of feel, you kind of feel at home. You know that it's not just they're not necessarily pandering or just like putting something out that all
Yeah.
these things too are like they're subtle, right? Like I Just Crush a Lot as a beer name isn't something that everybody necessarily understands, right? If
No.
you know the culture, you know it, right?
Mhm.
If there's a beer that has a name that references something that's like, the ODB beer by Jailbreak, it's like, oh, okay. Like yep. Not, and they don't call it Old Dirty Bastard. It's just called the ODB.
ODB. That's
But
it.
if you know ODB, it's like first thing you do is like, hold up, let me see, is this Old Dirty Bastard beer? Like I immediately
Right.
was like, are they just saying ODB and it means something else?
Right.
No,
Right.
they're hip, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So, which is also why like it's interesting that
Mm.
culturally, like it's definitely within our demographic, right? Like black
Yeah.
folks have been a little slower to latch on to craft beer. I think that it's come around a lot. You know, I think that even in my area, I noticed. I mean, I really was like going to the beer store years ago, and there wasn't a whole lot of people in my neighborhood buying craft beer. So, you know,
Yeah.
but now I see more craft beer available. I see more people I know who are down with it. I talk to folks, that are like, "Oh, man, I was just in the store like last week, and some guy walked in and mentioned that Dogfish. Dogfish had 120. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, man. Not a huge fan of the higher numbers when it comes to Dogfish, right? I'm not even necessarily a huge fan of Dogfish. I think that it's all right.
They've got some good ones.
But I would say this, right? 120 is just showing off. It's a whole lot of alcohol, bro. The
It
60,
is.
the 60 is still my go-to for them. Even the 90 is not as good as the 60 when it comes to flavor to me. It's overall. It's like I get why they're pushing the envelope. But I was talking. I said the guy mentioned that the 120 was buddy, and I kind of mumbled to my cousin. That's my cousin or my friend. I was like, man, I was like, it's my buddy Jason. Man, forget that 120, man. I don't even touch it. I was like, man, that's 60. And the guy heard me, and he was just like, yo, you're right. You're right. He said the 60 is kind of the go-to. He's like, you're right. He goes, you're using, and he was telling his buddy, his friend was like, nah, man, it's crazy. I'm not doing 120. It's too high. But
I think it just depends on who is the consumer.
For sure. But as I was talking to the same guy, it's funny. It kicked off a conversation, and I mentioned a couple other breweries, local places, and I was picking up some Oliver, and just we got in this whole conversation that quick though, and he was way more knowledgeable than like I knew he was. And by the time the conversation, we're like dapping each other. Oh man, like we're you know what you know what I know, right? We were like almost like within the matter of us just having a quick conversation about beer, we both acknowledged how much we respected each other's taste that quick.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. So
no, man, those I don't know, in my opinion, man, those connection points, man, are kind of like special moments, man, whether we want to admit them or not, man. They're just, it's something special that happens when you kind of connect with someone, man. That experience, man, is, they're always going to be extremely unique for the most part because everybody's different. You're connecting with different people. Even when you're connecting with the same people over different beers and stuff like that, man, it's like it's a very unique experience, man. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's definitely fun. So that's one of the things that I appreciate about it, man. Yeah.
Speaking of, man, I got a refill. Actually, I got a Voodoo Ranger tall can.
Yeah, that's not one of my favorites, but yeah, Voodoo. I feel like they got a double or something. I'm trying to think. Or no, it is the hazy IPA. The hazy IPA.
Yeah, they've got quite a few, and they're
they work.
Some better than others, right?
Yeah, that was one that Kroger used to carry. Man, we used to have that in the Kroger at there are no Krogers down here in Florida where I am anyway, but in Nashville, man, that was one that. It's crazy. Publix, man.
I was surprised to find that out because I saw Publix. I mean, I was like, really? Like they don't go any further than because I would imagine there's Kroger's all the way down to I would say once you get to Alabama, man, you're starting to see more like Winn-Dixies and
we got a Winn-Dixie up
Wrigley's even, you know what I mean? Like you're not necessarily seen as a big
Winn-Dixie up the street. I see like Kroger delivery down here, which is kind of weird.
South Carolina has way more Winn-Dixies, I remember, than Kroger's. Like it seemed like there's a lot more Piggly Wigglies too, man. There's still those out there,
Yeah, Piggly Wiggly's out here.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Well, it's hard to think of driving Miss Daisy when you think of Piggly Wiggly.
Spot on, man. Spot on.
Yeah. Well, let me go grab another beer out the fridge. I'll be back. Give me a minute real quick. So.
Yeah. Man, I may have to actually cash out, man. I'm on this one. We're at hour and 20.
Yeah, man, we end up capping too long sometimes, but we still. I'm going to work through that last one because there's like I said, there was a lot of good content there. I think really if I just chop the front and back end, then we can just separate it out into different shows because there was a little bit of time where we're just kind of spitballing and the studio setup, and there's a little time at the end where we actually flip more into a conversation about hip hop stuff, which I think that could be utilized for something else, you know?
Yeah. Definitely, man. I mean, the more we can use, the better. But
no, man, I was really happy with the amount of stuff we got down, just knowing that like we can segment it out because we don't have we don't have as many opportunities all the time to get on and jump in, and then we're online at 2:00 in the morning. Child, I don't know how often that's gonna happen.
Man, bruh, but before I got on, Tanya was like, "So, what is the schedule? What are y'all doing?" And I was just like, "Look, we're just able to do this now. I think once we start to quantify it and chop it up, like she'll understand. Like, it's not just one session that we're having here. It's potential to be at least like 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4.
And that's the thing. I think that last one was easily 3. I mean, I think we have an hour and a half of just meat, and then you take that and break it up, and you're talking 3 30-minute podcasts, which still in itself 30 minutes with a podcast is solid. But like, we can also add the extended version for people who want to sit and listen. I mean, I noticed that like some of the
podcasts, outtakes are easy.
Yeah, all that's fun, man. And honestly, man, too, I mean, like, I don't know if you've checked out, like, even Joe Budden's podcast. Sometimes that John runs 2.5 hours. I mean, when you check out Nori's podcast, that'll be 3 hours of him sitting and talking. It's it goes as long as it should go, right, in that particular instance. And, and then they also take it and segment it down into bite-sized pieces and serve it up. And you just want to see when they're talking about this or that. So,
no, absolutely, man. Absolutely,
man. I'll be right back.
Oh, you're good. I'm just putting some stuff up on there on the shelf, man. I gotta figure out how to get rid of this blur, man. I didn't realize it was gonna be a permanent situation. Kind of like, how do I get rid of this?
I don't know what you do with that blur shit, man, or how that came about. I mean, I know you're on Chrome, so I mean, if you there's a way to stop it.
Definitely. I'm not exactly.
Is it sure. If you go to the area where like it's underneath the main window where it says edit, never has audio. I don't know, man. I'm not even sure how you did it. It's under settings. It was under settings is where you went. Settings, virtual background, right?
Yeah, like I can't find it. Maybe I have to do it when we're not recording. But I think I thought I changed it when we were recording, though. That's it.
You did. We were definitely recording when you did it.
Remove from stream. KD. I don't know how I did. I can't find it though.
New Belgium, Voodoo Ranger.
Yeah.
I ended up in New Belgium. I remember when I first started drinking their stuff, it was because they had Fat Tire, which is a decent middle of the road, kind of like,
Yeah, Fat Tire's cool. I've had plenty of Fat Tires, definitely.
Well, that was the first beer I had by them, and I remember being like, oh, this is decent. I used to drink quite a bit of it. And then they started to have a little bit different things, different offerings in our area. The IPA started coming in, and and then the Voodoos and all that stuff were really different. All these Ranger beers are a little bit stronger, a little bit different than what. They're decent though. Fat Tire's all right.
Yeah, no, Fat Tire definitely. We got a lot of that in Nashville. That was one of those ones like Ballast Point, man, that was always carried on the shelf with like the Coors and Miller Lights.
Yeah, they got big distribution for sure. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
So
banners, comments, brand.
So you saw the brand, right?
What I did. Yeah, man, all of that looks dope. Here we go. Background. Where is it? I don't know what I did to
I thought the settings was at the bottom, and then there was once you hit settings, there's a little gear button at the bottom, and then I think it was under virtual background. That's where you were, right?
Oh yeah, settings. That's what I'm looking.
That's where you hit it. Settings, and then after you hit settings, then it's on the left side. It says virtual background. You should be able to swap that.
There we go.
So now, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, what? what's happening here? Like, what did I do?
Mm-mm.
So, anyway, all good.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you want to wrap this up, I mean, shit, I'm drinking this beer. I probably shouldn't have cracked this. It's fucking 2 in the morning. What am I doing?
Yeah, that's what I was like, man. I'm probably done
Yeah,
at this.
yeah, and I'm not burnt all the way. I mean, I'm still up, but at the same time, it'd probably be wise for me to try to save some for tomorrow. Man, it's supposed to start raining here, and then I'm not sure if we get rain yet. It's so weird. Oftentimes they say things and they don't happen, and then but
Yeah.
if it rains like oh shit, it is apparently it's raining right now. If it rains as bad as they predict, I'll be off all day tomorrow because my kids' kickball game is definitely getting canceled. So
Oh, word. Okay.
yeah, there's no way in hell they're gonna have kickball tomorrow if it rains like they're claiming. So I'll probably jump in tomorrow and do some editing on this, man, and check out that last one. Um,
Okay.
and I'll run it by you, man. I probably want to do a little intro, like a little intro screen and an outro screen or something. But yeah, we can start getting this stuff online. I really don't have any problem with it being out, as long as we know that we agreed on what segments we're gonna play.
Yeah.
It's like, and like I said, try to keep it to where it's reasonable, not too much information at once.
Yeah. I guess it depends on. I don't want to mess up the flow. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. But at the same time, if it in my head, I'm like, man, maybe like 15, 20 minutes, like tops.
Yeah, I mean 20 or 30 is a max, and even 20, I think 20 is solid. I think 20 is a good.
Yeah, I think so. Like sitcom, like if we're going straight through like 22 minutes almost feels like no commercial breaks. That feels like a lot.
Well, and that's the thing too is I'm actually kind of down to break it up, if
Yeah.
possible. And that could be something as simple as just throwing up a QR code and a link to our site, or having somebody who we can get to sponsor, or someone else we're trying to big up, right? Um,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, I meant to mention too. My wife's cousin makes music, and he actually is pretty good, man. He has an album he did with his wife and his kid not too long ago. But he's produced for years, and he was saying that he'd be down to throw us some beats, man. So when you're talking about heat,
Why not?
I was like, dude, I was like, we could. I'd be down to throw some production underneath our shit, our intro, outro. You know what I'm saying? Give him some credit. I mean, he ain't looking for nothing else. He's actually wanting to jump in and do this video game podcast, so he might end up being one of the podcasters too.
Cool.
But he makes
definitely cool with that.
So I'm like, yeah, we could throw some beats out under this shit, and he's just some cat that's part of the family. So yeah, you look tired. Like I'm yawning too. I'm like, oh, we're yawning. You're
No
yawning.
opposed. Yeah, I've kind of hit a wall. I'm actually kind of hungry though. That's my thing. I'm like,
Man, who you telling, dude? I'm thinking the same thing right now. I need to go eat.
I need to eat.
I ended up housing all my kids' chips last night, late night. So
Right.
snacking when I was talking, I was snacking so hard, bro. I said, I'll finish a bag of snacks. Like, man,
Nah, man, I'm right there with you, man. I'm like, I gotta make a sandwich or something. I'm starving. But yeah, man. Yeah, let's try to do one more tomorrow, man, and maybe get, we don't have to go hour and 30 or whatever. If we just went maybe an hour or something, like, I'll
Hey, quick heads up too. I got to schedule. I got a supposed scheduled time to do another. My buddy who wants to do the IT podcast, right? He's doing like a tech. He has yet to really sync up with a guy who he's talking to about doing stuff with.
mhm.
So, what I'm gonna do, I told him, man, let's just jump in a session and just run through it so he can get some inspiration off what we're doing and kind of see
Cool.
what we're doing. Understand some more of the tools. So he and I got into a conversation about Lupe's new album not so long ago. I was like, man, just save it and we'll just do that as a quick topic. And then I'll show you all the, and I'm going to take album covers, throw them into a big, a quick little PDF, upload them so we can talk. So I'll probably even do like a recap of the past week or so of like new music with him, just because I know I have him captive and he's trying to learn this platform so he can then make his own podcast.
Okay.
Yes, I mean if you're interested in jumping in that too, man. But I'm down, man. Tomorrow's probably gonna be free, man. I mean it's definitely raining here, and I don't think that it's gonna be any let up most of the day. So
Yeah.
that said, I'll probably
let me know. Let me know the time, man. I don't plan on doing too much moving around tomorrow. Like, i.e., I don't think I'll be leaving the house. Me and Knox went down to Hollywood Beach the other day. and
Yeah.
I know for work it's about to get hectic. So I'm trying to like stay still and not really be bouncing around. Long story short, so yeah, man, I could definitely carve out an hour, maybe even two between tomorrow and Sunday. You know, yeah, I
Well, yeah,
mean, if I make a run or leave the house, I could go get like maybe some more beer. But I've got about 20 or 25 in the cellar already. They're mostly magnanimous, but
yeah. Well, and it's mainly just as an aid to kind of talk on, or just have something in your hand. If we toast and
that's it exactly. Yeah,
you know. It ain't nothing special because I mean I'll probably keep some of the local like whether it's that Be More Hazy is like an easy one to get for me. It's right down the street, but like just so I
yeah,
have some toast too, if nothing else, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna start. I might have to shoot over to VA, man, because they got that Mustang Sally's available over
You
there.
got to, man.
And that looks good, man. They got a lot of variety, man. I want to bring that one, that pink and black one I had at my mom's house. I gotta get that. It's called the Eighth Rule. That shit's quality. So
Yeah.
I'll
I
bring
mean,
that one next time.
for if nothing else, man, I feel like that is a way for us to once it starts getting like more traction, those kind of features that we're giving people where we pull up their website and we go to that, like that's money. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we're only doing that for spots. I feel like at that point we would only do it for the spots that we really like. And digging around on their website, like literally giving them free publicity.
Yeah, we're already talking about them because we like their stuff. I mean,
That's it. And we like it. It's not like it's not genuine. It's like, look, we're only doing this because we fuck with your shit.
Yeah,
Like go in there and definitely get some cans, maybe even get a glass. You know what I mean? If they got the proper glassware, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's why I fuck with like the Untapped shit. Like I'm like, I always try to pull up their website, like anything that in my head that could potentially lead to, not that Untapped needs us, but like I don't know, man, a brewery, man. I think they may find that shit
I
pretty.
think we both agree that they're at the standard for like their type of app, and they have all this information. Dude, I didn't know Mustang Sally has a beer called Mr. Anderson. I gotta get that shit.
That's a no-brainer.
Well, it's an imperial stout, and it's dirty chai latte inspired cold brew coffee. Wow, that's some shit. Cinnamon notes, chai.
Cinnamon notes. Okay.
Yeah, that's something I'm gonna fuck with one day, just because I didn't even know that they had that. I'm just on their website right now looking at it, and
You got to try it
oh
for the
yeah,
culture. For the culture.
yeah, they have some quality stuff. So I'll check them out. But no, man, let's try to hop on tomorrow. I'll probably find some time to grab some beer too as well tomorrow. And if not, man, I would definitely want to start doing some other just topical stuff on the Fly Dialogue podcast. Um,
Yo, I tell you what, because I don't know what that looks like. Obviously, this keeps it very simple in terms of what we talk about.
yeah.
Where Fly Dialogue gets into a vast unknown, if you will. Man, if you get a second, I don't know if you got Netflix or whatever, man, but maybe check out that Chappelle, like that 40-minute thing that he did. I don't really even know, man. I feel like I've gotten away from what that content looks like versus.
It's funny, man. I don't watch TV or movies at all.
Yeah, okay.
So what that could look like is because see, and the other thing too is so I'm throwing out like my man wants to talk. We start talking about albums because he's a fan of certain music. So it could really just be a single question. I don't even care what it is. We could just start with the question and just ramble. You know what I mean? Just for the first one because we really don't know what that looks like. I do think it's kind of the place for us to have less boundaries. This is very structured because it is about beer. So it moves in a certain direction. It makes sense. But you gotta be yawning, dude. But the other one,
I'm just tired. I'm about to go to bed.
yeah, it could be a simple statement or question, and we just start talking on it, man. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Something that's fairly relevant, but it doesn't have to be newsworthy per se. Definitely not political. I want to get in that realm.
Okay, not too heavy. All
Yeah,
right.
I'll come up with a couple ideas, man. But it can be just simple as like throwing out a question and just going, because I think we both tend to want to talk about stuff, and
Yeah.
it's something we both can relate. So I don't want to make it too complex, and maybe we'll find that groove. Like maybe it'll kind of make sense for us at some point.
Okay,
So
that's cool. That works for me, man.
all right, well, look, man, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off because, man, I'm